Hello everyone and welcome back to AustinPlus Reviews, where today we are doing a lot of reviews this month because they've been releasing a lot of stuff and I'm also very late. But this one, I am sorry for the late delay, but I actually only watched this last week. I've watched this fully in the space of a week, and today I'm explaining my thoughts on Spider-Noir, the Nicolas Cage film, the show that is currently on Amazon Prime. Please go and watch it, it's very good. And so, I guess, let's put on our fedoras, pull up our collars, and step into the shadows of the 1930s New York, because Nicolas Cage is finally bringing his web-slinging into live action. For those who do not know, he did appear in Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and was voiced by Nicolas Cage, and because of everyone loved that it was voiced by Nicolas Cage and all that, they somehow made a show out of it, and they've done it pretty damn well. So without further ado, let's get into it. So normal criteria is best characters and best moments. Now, I'm actually going to start with prefacing that I would say it was very hard to pick best moments, but I have chosen very niche and kind of broad aspects of the show, because it is pretty level even in terms of this type of story. It's funny, it's so consistent as well, and there's something I want to get onto later in the video, but first of all, we'll start with the best characters, first of all being Ben Reilly. Now, goes without saying, but Nicolas Cage's portrayal of Ben Reilly stands as the absolute pillar of the series, obviously, masterfully capturing a wary, down on his luck private eye investigator who is pulled back into his heroic costume, and he is described by the actual actor Nicolas Cage as a brilliant mix of, he said 70% Humphrey Bogart and 30% Bugs Bunny. I get the Bugs Bunny thing. I don't know who Humphrey Bogart is. Actually, just do a Google search real quickly. Oh. Well, yeah, I see the correlation. I do see the correlation. He is an American actor who was known as Bogey. Okay, yes, I do see the correlation. But he did describe it that the Spider-Noir character as him, and I do think the performance that he put on, and especially if you put it in those kind of terms, I couldn't agree more. He balances the tragic pathos with the comic absurdity that you wouldn't really see with a Spider-Man character. His cynical, jaded nature perfectly does embody the classic archetype of someone who is down on his luck in a show like this, but he also keeps up his character intensely grounded and uniquely charming. And that seems now, consistency I think is the biggest word and biggest phrase I can use for this show. It is so consistent. It's got so many different genres, but you know what you're watching, you know what you're getting yourself into. Some things can shock you, don't get me wrong, but it is a very good show, and the characters and the people they've cast for them couldn't be better. And Nicolas Cage as Ben Reilly, or actually, we don't know who if this is Peter Parker, because Ben Reilly, we found out, is a name that he gave himself after France in this show, and I'll get onto, if you don't understand the France thing, ideally, you should have watched this before you watch this review, but I will explain that later on. So the next best character I would say is Cat Hardy, or Felicia Hardy. Actually, they call her Cat in this, so I'm going to refer to her as Cat Hardy. But the actor does deliver an effortless, magnetic performance for a Felicia Hardy Black Cat type character type. Her performance is fantastic. It is very signature, nightclub singer, but also the love interest. It's a classic character type, but she does switch on you very quickly, and I think to go from one thing to another so quickly, it happened in the space of about 5 minutes, I think was incredibly impressive, because she did seem like the innocent person. She was trying to be the helpful one, and then she just went, nah mate, I'm evil, I'm doing. But I do also understand her, but it also does link to Felicia Hardy and Black Cat, who is in the original. Now, this is not set in the same universe, but this character, she was the nightclub singer at the alcove, and she moves with the deceptive grace and confidence type, and expertly rapping multiple men around her finger while maintaining a complex web of lies. I had to get that in there somewhere. Web of lies to everyone she meets. She does have a duplicit nature, which, if you don't know what that means, it's basically like a dual personality, and that is beautifully layered in this, because you can see the genuine vulnerability with the character. But her tragic romance with Flint Marko, and then her deep personal quest for vengeance against Silvermane, which she does inevitably get, I think is such a great character type for a show like this. It's very gritty, it's very noir. Now, this person really shocked me. I didn't think it would be a character that I actually felt so much sympathy for. Now, when I watch these things, I'm like, oh, what am I going to write and review if I'm doing that? And this character, episode 1, it might have been episode 2, I was like, yeah, I like him. He's one of my favorites already. And it's Flint Marko. Jack Hudson, I think it's Jack Hudson, I think that's his name, portrays Flint Marko as a very deeply and sympathetic tortured soul, completely subverting from the typical comic book brute trooper that he is. So he's obviously Kat's devoted lover and bodyguard, but also he handles the worsening unstable physical condition that allows his body to transform into sand, making him Sandman. Now, they do hint that he is Sandman throughout the show. The green shirt, some beige trousers, but he is a character to sympathize with, and I get that sort of with Sandman in the Thomas Hayden Church version in No Way Home, and then the Sam Raimi stuff. You could see he was someone that had sympathy. He had lost his child, he had lost his family, he had nothing to lose, but he also wanted to help himself and try and get back with his family. But Flint Marko, he was trying to hide the fact that this had happened to him. He tried to hide the fact that he was in love with Kat, but then ultimately came to Silvermane's obviously team of being super. Now, his portrayal is defined as the overwhelming sense of heart, and I think trying to do that with a character like Sandman's very hard, especially in this type of show. Despite being drawn into that dark world of Silvermane's henchmen, his actions are consistently driven by just pure unwearying devotion for those that he loves. Now, the next character, I actually quite liked him. I didn't like him at the start of the show because obviously he's a villain, but I really liked him, but I also love the actor. Brendan Gleeson played... he played Silvermane. Not the Silvermane you probably think in the comics. So it's Silvermane Manfredi on Manfredi in the comics. This one, Silvermane, is actually a cover name. His name is Finbar Finn Brown, or Burn. And I think he was perfectly cast for the type of character this is. I would say he does fit more like the Hammerhead vibe than Silvermane. If they gave him a Hammerhead name, I'd be like, yep, this is the perfect show. Perfect show. They gave him the Silvermane name. Yes, it's a bit more mainstream, but I'm like, yeah, I do prefer that if he was referred to as Hammerhead. But bringing his signature gruff Irish charisma to the city's most ruthless mob boss, Gleeson operates on a knife's edge of dangerous malice and calm, holding a philosophical drone eye view over the criminal underworld he commands. And I think he is such a... he doesn't shout, he doesn't, he's so, calm, monotone, and obviously, I've seen Brendan Gleeson's other stuff, shout. Trust me, he so could have done that in this show, but he didn't have to. His mere presence was terrifying. Now, I actually searched up the rating for this, because I didn't know what rating it is. I'm saying between PG-15, if not a rated R, because there is a fair bit of swearing in it, but there is also some, bloody scenes. And that's what made me think, I was like, what fucking rating is this? Because it was not what I was expecting. But also, and the reason I bring this up is because it was all scenes with Silvermane in them. His commanding screen presence establishes him as a truly menacing, calculating antagonist who tightly controls the city, from corrupt officials, while also acting as a dark ghost from Ben Reilly's past. They haven't said that that Silvermane was the person that caused the Ruby's death, which, if those who don't know, is Ben Reilly's wife that passed. So it isn't to say that that was the link, but it might be. You never know. Our last character is Lonnie Lincoln. I kind of when I saw him, I set my eyes on him straight away. I was just like, he's a character that I'm going to enjoy, and it's because he has the same character type as Flint Marko, and obviously they have something in common. Now you might think, oh, why don't you like the Electro or Megawatt thing? The guy spoke in Shakespeare, and I hated him. I hated that Megawatt. I think I would have had a bit more respect for him if they called him Electro, but still, his character type was so bad. He speaks in riddles, he speaks in Shakespeare. I hated him. And when he died, I was very happy. Lonnie's character is all about loyalty, and that's very clear in this, and I do think it is very... I think that's a very cool character arc to have, especially in the likes of this. The weirdest thing is he possesses a near indestructible, like crocodile-like skin, is what people tend to say, and that grants him like superhuman durability. And Lonnie serves as like the formidable enforcer for the rich history. With a rich history rooted in the wartime friendship with the likes of Flint Marko. Now, his portrayal does add massive stakes to the neighborhood street level conflicts, and that's why I knew I was going to like him straight off the bat. And his showcasing of a superpowered individual who fiercely utilizes his terrifying strength just to protect his community from corrupt police raids does show that I didn't think he would be one of the big bads at the very end. I thought he would come to a sentence and go, yeah, I'm actually a good guy, not like this. And he was right in the end, and that's why I do like Tombstone's character. Now, on to the best moments. One of them is specific, the other ones are very general, so just be warned. So the first one is the drunken bar fight. Now, the drunken bar fight does capture the peak chaotic charm of the show by letting like Nicolas Cage just completely cut loose from the grizzled down on his luck superhero into like this drunk and you could say disorderly type of superhero. And the scene perfectly balances the physical comedy with the grounded unpolished grit as an aging Ben Reilly. Well, this does Ben Reilly in this bar is very sloppily reliant on his powers while he's completely plastered, but it encapsulates the core premise of that Phil Lord and Christopher Miller promised: a cynical, jaded web slinger who isn't afraid to awkwardly drunken punch his way out of a bad situation. It wasn't a bad situation that he was in; he put himself in there. So, honestly, I think he had himself to blame for that. Now, this is what I mean by specific. The flashbacks to the POW camps and France, I think, are very crucial to the narrative and the emotional anchor of the entire series, elevating it from a standard comic book adaptation into a haunting piece of historical fiction. There is some, like, a body horror in this. I didn't know, and I just dealt with it, but I didn't enjoy it. But these sequences elegantly detailed Ben's harrowing origins as a World War I sergeant, uncovering a nightmare-inducing German laboratory where a feral mutated human spider altered his biology forever. Now that was quite rough to watch. This whole bit is a lot to do with psychological trauma, and it does strip away Ben's humanity, obviously turning into a spider, obviously moving around like this. I don't know how sleeping like this is comfortable, by the way. I don't understand how that can be comfortable. Obviously, he's got spider DNA now, but that's gotta give you some horrendous back issues. But the other thing is all of the fighting scenes with Spider-Noir or the Spider in them. Now, one tiny bone to pick with this show. For a show called Spider-Noir, there isn't a lot of spider in it. There's very few. You see a lot more of Ben Reilly than you do Spider-Noir. But all of the action sequences where Spider-Noir is fighting or doing anything like that, it stands out as a masterclass in like stylish violence, seemingly marrying into that classic 1930s pulp detective brawls with superhuman agility. But because of Ben Reilly's spidey sense famously rings a second too late now, each confrontation feels dangerous, heavy, and delightfully high stakes. Whether you watch the choreography play out in the deep shadowy contrasts of like the authentic black or white noir, or you watch it in the true he color, These fights do strip away at the effortlessly power fantasy tropes to deliver these genuinely hard-hitting cinematic spectacles. That's for the best moments and best characters. Now let's get on to the details. So, what are the chances of a second season? And before I get on to this, I would like to preface, I do not want a season 2. It ended perfectly. I don't want a season 2. Ever. Please don't. I think it's fine as it is. It's a show that has got very little legs. Keep it the way it is. While Prime Video has not officially renewed Spider-Noir for a second season, the chances do remain exceptionally high due to its massive critical acclaim as the #1 debut on the streaming charts at a 91% Rotten Tomatoes score. However, showrunner has explicitly stated that the series was built from the ground up to accommodate a multi-season detective format, and stars like Nicolas Cage have also teased potential ideas for involving World War II and global cases. I can't lie and say that I wouldn't want to see that, but the only potential roadblocks to the immediate greenlight are working around Cage's incredibly busy Hollywood filming schedule and navigating the show's massive production budget, because there was a big production budget, believe it or not. But I don't want a season 2. I think it's a good story the way it is. The only way you're going to get by that is adding more characters, but then that takes away from the noir stuff for me. But I don't know. What do you think? Oh yay, other reviews, my least favorite segment. So Empire Magazine said it just gets better and better with a rug-pulling season finale that delivers on every level, with the Nicolas Cage in the middle of it all fulfilling a lifelong dream he possibly didn't know he had. With every pore of his body, every restless, fizzy atom of his being. Yes, I do agree. I think this was... I was not expecting anything from that Nicolas Cage voice appearance in that Spider-Man Into the Verse, considering I watched that film about every single flipping morning on a Saturday when I was younger. But I'm very glad that they did, and now that I'm older and I can appreciate it, I'm very, very glad they did. Discussing film said throughout all 8 episodes of the first season, Spider-Noir somehow manages to tell both a quintessential Spider-Man story and a thrilling detective mystery. Yes. The mystery part, it was quite it's thrilling and it's very detective-like, but the mystery stuff was very not so mystery. It's quite easy to figure out. However, I do think this was throughout all 8 episodes I was hooked. Like, I'd always ask. So I wanted to watch it in the big TV in the living room, even though I have one right there. I was like, oh, can I watch another one? Can I watch another one? I'd always find the time to watch another one, and I'm glad I did. Slash Film said one of the pleasures of the series is to see the familiar, namely famous Spider-Man characters adapted into a new characters, providing new, enticing dimensions to folks like the Sandman, Black Cat, and Spidey himself. Yes, I do agree. It's not the typical character arcs you would hope for, well, not even hope for, that you're expecting. Now, RogerEbert.com. Now, Roger Ebert, I recently found out when I was doing that critics video the other day that he was actually one of the people that started off with critics. So you and I have some history. Just joking. But let's see what he says. So RogerEbert.com said much of the enjoyment stems from the consistent nods to the films of the period, from the music choices to the atmospheric cinematography to tributes to films such as The Precoce, Below the Sea. We agree! We agree! I agree! Yes, it is... yes, it's set in the 1930s, but some things they're just like, oh yeah, we'll say it's the 1930s, but we'll just forget about a load of stuff. No, they made sure people knew that was in the 1930s, and yes, it's correct. I do. Yes, I agree. Sorry, that's probably the first time I've agreed with a review like that. So, if we're comparing this show to the likes of a normal Spider-Man show, it is very much unlike any Spider-Man animated or live-action show that leans into the more bright, high-flying, teenager-centric power fantasies, but this live-action series roots itself in the dark, gritty 1930s noir aesthetic, where the protagonist is an aging, weary, and deeply cynical veteran. Now that is something that Spider-Man's basically flipped on his head and it still works. That just shows how iconic Spider-Man is. That hurt my finger, I can't lie. Just did like that on my desk. The action shifts away from the effortless web slinging across sunlight skyscrapers to brutal street level fistfights in shadow drenched alleyways where the stakes feel heavy, and a delayed spidey sense makes every punch genuinely dangerous and a bit lethal, potentially. Ultimately, it trades the classic friendly neighborhood coming-of-age charm of a mature psychological detective show that feels much closer to the classic historical fiction than a traditional superhero cartoon, which is actually the perfect genre for me, honestly. If I am being honest, that's like a perfect genre. So overall, I have a deep love for this show. I'm not gonna lie to you. I really did enjoy it. It stems from how brilliantly it just dismantles the standard superhero formula to deliver a gritty, atmospheric masterclass in historical pulp fiction. I was endlessly fascinated by Nicolas Cage's performance as Ben Reilly, an aging, cynical detective whose delayed spidey sense makes every street-level brawl feel incredibly high stakes. But for me, the true magic of the series does, I think, lie in the perfect collision of the classic Hollywood tragedy, maturing storytelling, and hard-hitting action, proving that a Spider-Man story can profoundly institute a gripping, shadow-drenched detective mystery. Now, if Spider-Man can do that, just take notes, folks, take notes. But ultimately, Spider-Noir does far more than just a spin of a familiar web-slinging. Its brilliant fusion of gritty 1930s tragedy and Nicolas Cage's brilliance delivers a dark, atmospheric masterpiece that completely redefines what a superhero can ever be. Now, here's another thing. Go and listen to the theme song for this show. The first season, I was like, oh yeah, I heard this on TikTok. Second episode, I knew it word for word. It's so good. The theme song for this is brilliant. Go and listen to it, or go and watch this, please. But without further ado, folks, that is the end of today's video. I do hope you all enjoyed it, and if you did, please leave a like and subscribe, and comment what else you would like to see on the channel. But I hope you have an amazing day as always, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.